We bitch a lot. Hey, everybody else does it. So we have mics in front of us, so we can just record and put it out there. So on this episode, let's talk about what you've been doing for the last 6 weeks. Justice. And justice for all.
Yeah. So
is it really justice for all?
Not really, because there was things that, like... Okay, so I served on grand jury. And without talking about specific cases, because I'm not allowed to do that, just about, like, the experience, kind of. There's laws that I don't like the laws with regards to, like, drugs.
Okay, let's just back up for a second, because you're on the grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing from experience, we'll get a little bit into my story. Before a case goes to trial, okay, you get charged with a crime, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then it goes before the grand jury to decide whether to continue to prosecute the case. Is that correct?
To move towards the indictment.
So you go before a jury of your peers,
mm-hmm.
and they decide whether this case has enough legs to further.
Yes.
Now,
and giving like a little more information too. So trial juries typically will have 12 jurors. Grand jury does 16 jurors. And you have to have unanimous, like the vote has to be at least, I'm sorry, not unanimous. Obviously unanimous will pass, but you have to at least have 9 jurors vote to indict in order for it to move to the indictment.
But a very important part of this is it's not the grand jury's job to decide whether this person's guilty or not.
Right. The grand jury does not determine guilt or innocence. First off, we only hear one side of the story. We're only hearing from the prosecutor, okay, to the charges being filed on the person, the defendant. Right. So your job as a grand juror is to determine, did this person who's being charged with this probably do what they're being charged
Probable
of.
Cause.
Yes.
That's all cause. Your term determine.
All you determine is probable cause. Did this person probably do what they're being charged of?
Right. So in my case, about a year and a half ago or so, I was involved in an incident where somebody fired 2 shots at me. Mm-hmm. Literally fired 2 shots at me, point blank, hit me to the left and right of me. You know, whether you tried to scare me or whatever, the reasoning behind all that, we'll leave that out. But it went before the grand jury, and the grand jury said, no, he didn't do that. Right. No, there's a bullet hole here. There's evidence. It's a little chalk mark. There's a bullet hole here. He's a bullet. Did you fucking fire the gun at the guy?
It would be interesting to know how they voted. I mean, I thought about your case like my very first day of service. I'm like, how did they not indict the person who shot at you? I'm like, they don't know their job then, because what they were doing was they were determining guilt or innocence. Like he had,
right.
They were thinking, well, based on the circumstances, he had every right to do this. That's not their job. Their job was to basically say, yes, this person probably did this. I mean, unless they literally thought, no, maybe it was somebody else who flew into the house and was the actual shooter. I'm like, there's no fucking way
and the guy got off. He got to keep his guns. The
Well, yeah, because no
There,
charges were brought
there wasn't even
against him.
there wasn't a reckless discharge of firearms because a bullet went through the wall into the wall of the house next door. Luckily, nobody was home. Went through a room and into a closet.
But that is one of the statutes too. That, I mean, that falls under another statute. You can't discharge firearms like that. You can get charged
Yeah.
with firing within the city limits. There's one.
Well,
like
that's all that stuck. But the DA decided, well, it's not worth trying to prosecute
Right.
on that
And
one
dropped
charge
it.
and dropped
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Since the grand jury already did not move on that charge, so they're like, well, forget it. You know, like they didn't even move on the bigger charge.
Okay,
So yeah.
being that you were there and you were the assistant foreman, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the term. How many people that were on the grand jury try to use that? We're trying to determine the guilt or innocence thing, and you had to be like, no, we're not determining that. How many times did that have to be explained?
That only happened like the first week and the second week, and then everybody pretty much got with it. I'm thinking that the grand jury that determined yours, like no one was willing to say, hey, wait a second, this isn't our job. Like we're not here to determine guilt or innocence, because I'm one of the people who did say, you guys, we're not determining guilt or innocence. All we're determining is probable cause. You know, like, and most of the cases are, I don't even know why they have to go to the grand jury unless it's just like, you know, formality, like it's the formal thing to do, because there's like ones where everything gets caught on a Ring camera or it's recorded on something, like it's recorded on security cameras or whatnot. So I'm like, that's a pretty cut and dry case. I mean, you have this person on there who is positively identified as being this person. Of course, there's going to be it's moving to an indictment. I mean, that's video evidence of this person doing this.
Speaking of which, there was a Ring camera there. I wonder why they didn't go with that.
Maybe you had like lazy officers or something who didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, because.
All right, so we can't really get into specifics of cases, but we can generalize.
And I can make fun of some of the other jurors.
Yeah.
I suppose.
So first off, before we get to the other jurors, what in Mojave County, what are the majority of the cases that you had to preside over?
The majority of the cases are typically drugs. Meth and fentanyl are the popular drugs around here. It's mostly always meth or fentanyl.
And then it gets down to what's next after that.
Like theft, like low level kind of theft stuff.
Like shoplifting type stuff, or
There's shoplifting, but then there's like theft of people's property, like on their property, and people are so stupid they get caught. Like almost everyone has Ring doorbell cameras now, and
which probably ties into the meth thing, because what are you stealing for? You're probably stealing to get high,
right?
Something. I guess we're making assumptions here. Any horrific stories? I mean, we can't get into specifics.
Yeah, like there's the stuff with the kids. It's just like, maybe someday I can talk about some of those cases after those go all the way through the entire court process. You know, they've already at least been seen like for their first arraignment, you know, because usually that happens shortly after an indictment. But as far as like the whole entire court process, I'm not entirely sure about how long those take. But they're disturbing. They're like, I'm like, I did not need to know that stuff like this went on. Like,
Yeah, as a matter of fact, geez, what was it, like 2 weeks ago that we just had to cancel the podcast just because you had had enough of whatever had happened in court that day, and you just weren't in the mood.
yeah.
I probably wouldn't be either.
Luckily, at least on our last day, there were no cases like that. I'm like, thank God. Like, because usually there's like, one.
And how many cases would you hear per day? Because you would go,
About,
inside.
like-
You'd go once a week for 6 weeks or so.
Like 20 to 25.
20 to 25 cases. So you have to bang them out.
Yeah, well, most of them go pretty quick because it's like, pretty cut and dry. Like they got caught doing whatever they did, like on camera. I mean, there's not, like, yes, there's a questioning period where they still have to question the witness, and in this case, the witness is like law enforcement. So they question them about the report, basically what's in the report, and they're telling us this, and it's like that all goes pretty quick, especially when somebody's, like I said, caught on camera doing stuff.
I had another question. Is any of this recorded? Are you being recorded while this is going on?
I don't know. I mean, I would think so, just because they did have like little microphones on all the tables in there, but it's also because they do a lot of stuff on Zoom. So like if a juror, we had one juror who always did his appearances by Zoom.
Right, because
minus the first one
because
he
Mojave
lives so far.
Yeah, because Mojave County is quite large.
Right, and they let you, they let anyone who wants to do the Zoom do it. We only had one person who wanted to. The rest of the people wanted to show up in person. But we had like microphones, little microphones on the table. But I think that it's so the Zoom people could hear. Because also the officers from the other areas, like from Bullhead and Havasu, and some of them from Colorado City, because that's Mojave County too, they appeared by Zoom, because that's quite a bit of a stretch for them to drive in to come talk to us too.
Yeah, and because the reason I ask is when my case happened and it got thrown out by the grand jury, I was kind of like, I wanted to kind of hear. I'm like, can I hear the reasoning why? Because it seems pretty cut and dry. There's a bullet hole here, there's a bullet hole there, and I was in the middle. And they said no, they couldn't.
I'm almost certain that jury, they were not doing their job. They were determining guilt or innocence, and they felt like it was justified, that he had justified reason to fire his gun at you. It sucks to say that, but it's like, that's what they probably went with, because they didn't understand what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and I was pissed because I'm like, I don't have a say in this. I don't, I can't go, and of course you can't, because only the prosecution gets up, and I can't go and say, hey.
Yeah, you don't there's no witnesses like that come in and testify. There's no people from any of the cases who come in.
And I guess we should teach civics better in school. I didn't realize that's how the system worked up until that point.
I didn't either until I was selected for grand jury, and then they told us basically what we would be doing. And so I had no idea what grand jury meant ever until I was on a grand jury.
I thought grand jury was just like a step beyond, like, say if they you appealed it, like you appealed the decision. I thought then it went before a grand jury, before it went to the Supreme Court or whatever. Right. That's the way I thought it worked.
They make the grand jury sound like
grand.
I know, like like, and they're not really, I mean, I guess in a way they're kind of determining fate, but not really, because they're not even listening to the other side of the story. They're not listening to the whole defense side,
Yeah. And well, and in my case,
because it's not our job. It's not our job to do that. Our job is to simply say, is the person who's being accused probably the one that did this?
and another fun fact about grand juries is if it doesn't go to a civil trial, am I going to explain this right? I couldn't go after him personally because there was no charges.
There's like no judgment.
And there's no judgment.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't sue him person to person, small claims or whatever, because technically there was no damages done in the eyes of the grand jury.
Like, that's a good question, because I don't know if you still would be able
No.
to go.
I was told no.
Oh, okay.
I asked.
So somebody already, you
Yeah.
already asked.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, that kind of sucks, huh?
Yeah. Well, live and learn.
Like,
But I guess
so-
we should know the court system's better.
Right?
As-
So getting
as
to
opinion
some
as
of
we are
the,
not.
you want to hear like some of the funny stories? Well,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I at least thought they were. So of course, I mean, we're in Kingman, and I mean, like the county is the reddest county. So like in between each of the lawyers, like lawyers would, most of the time they'd present a couple of cases, like to get their cases done. Every once in a while you'd have one of them just come in and do one, but in between there, like we have a little downtime where we talk amongst ourselves or whatnot. And there's this group of the old dude crew, I guess I'll call them, there was like 4 of them who are clearly on the right, clearly. I mean, by their rhetoric. Some of them possibly followers of Q, because they were all up in arms about how the 1-6ers, the so-called patriots, they view them as patriots, storming into the Capitol and causing damage, have not been released yet, and they feel that that is violating those folks' constitutional rights and all that. And it's like,
What's the argument there?
they think that it's unfair for them to be held.
But if a Black Lives Matter protester got arrested for damaging personal property,
They'd probably want them executed, right?
well, they'd want
Call
them
for execution.
They would want them charged at least.
Yeah, they're just like, I mean, they're all up in arms. And then, of course, almost every other comment was about how shitty the state of California is, because like 2 of them were originally from California. They moved here from California, and they're always bitching about that. And then they're bitching about what can be done about our borders, and they're talking about all this stuff to the lawyers, like asking what can legally be done about our borders. So I finally had it. On the last day, I made my joke about how I started talking about the state of Texas, because I'm like, I made my joke earlier that I'm like, well, you might as well go get a government job in Texas, because you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do your job and you still get paid. And I was going through the things that I went with you. And then finally it got them to shut up. And then one of them brought up this thing. He's like, did you guys hear about what happened in California just over the weekend? The 2 young guys who had 150,000 fentanyl pills, and they just let them go. They just let him go. California just let him go. I'm
Like no
telling
charges.
you, I do not know what's going on in that state. And I go, when we have a break, I'll have to look up that story so I can read more about it. So, of course, you know me, I take people up on their offer. When they tell me I don't know something about something, I'm going to go check it out. So you put it into, I put it into my Safari search, because I search everything that leans towards the right on that, because I want Safari to think that I'm a Republican, so it like doesn't try to track me. I'm probably going a little crazy on that conspiracy, but I use my protected internet stuff to research the stuff that I really want to research because I'm trying to make a fake profile of myself, basically. Right. So anyways, you type it into Safari and it pops up. Like the first 3 articles on it are all from Fox News. And I'm like, big surprise. I knew that this is where they heard this story from anyways. And yes, you read through the article. It's a very short article. It just says they were busted. Their ages, like I think one of them was 19 and the other one was like 20 or 21. And they were originally from the state of Washington, and they arrested them, and then they just let them go with dangerous drugs that can kill all these people. So
wait. So the story says that they let them go with the drugs? The
story makes it, no, it does not specifically say that, but we know how intelligent a Fox News viewer is. So the story implies that they just release them back like with their $150,000 $150,000 fentanyl pills.
Like the police pulled them over and said, "No, you're illegal. You're good. Continue."
Right.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Right. So if you scroll down further to try to get the story from non-mainstream media, okay? Which, because I hate to break it to you conservatives, but Fox News is mainstream media. I know you always like to say the liberal mainstream media. Anywho, so you scroll down and then you read it and it says that the 2 are facing charges. That's what it says in those articles. It's still kind of a short article and whatnot. It doesn't talk about the release.
Well, yeah, but
se,
people's attention spans are short.
They're facing charges, right? So then I wasn't even going to bring it up later because I'm like, this is a stupid argument, but I wanted to have that information read, before I went back because I was damn sure that he was going to bring it up. And sure enough, when we had a little downtime because they hadn't scheduled their stuff, like one of the witnesses wasn't there yet. So then the lawyers will usually be like, do you guys have any questions that you want to ask us, about the law or whatnot? So of course, oh, did you hear what's happening in California? And the lawyer is clearly a conservative too. So he jumps in on the, let's talk shit. They just let you do whatever you want in the state of California. There's no law happening there, blah, blah, blah. And so I asked the lawyer, I go, yeah, but aren't there instances where they let, forget about it. Yeah, okay, fine. They let them go. But does that mean that they didn't book them? That they didn't book and charge? Because I go, I have an example of something that happened here. Now, this was several years ago, but I was out one time with my friend, and one of my former friends, we used to be friends, and we were friends at the time, punched a coworker of mine in the face and took off. So what they did was they went and booked him. He was out a half hour later, and this is someone who had just punched someone in the face and knocked him out on the ground. This guy was out a half hour later after being booked. They released him. He was out in a half hour to send me threatening text messages. And he's like, well, no, they do. So the lawyer kind of I'm not going to sit here and listen to you guys continuously bag on the state of California to make it your boogeyman. I'm not saying that California does everything right. I'm not saying that there aren't fucked up things about it. But it's like, you guys continuously do this. I don't know what it's for. I don't know if it's because you have small dicks and it makes you feel better. I don't know what the reasoning is. But I'm sick of hearing your stupid fucking rhetoric when you don't have all the facts. And you're just acting like they're just releasing them back on the street with this deadly fentanyl. First off, they're not going to give them their drugs back if they got busted for it. Those got confiscated. And they probably got charged and then released. And they've got to show up for court. But I mean, they just...
Yeah.
They're not going to believe that. They're like, I want to believe what I want to believe. I want to believe that the state of California has no law and order. So fast forward to one of the cases we heard later was about an incident that happened in Mojave County. and the guys took off. Guess who caught them? Guess who was the ones that caught them? The police in San Bernardino, California. That's how they got caught. They didn't get caught here. So it was like, then I was like, you guys have something you want to say about California after this case, after hearing this one? So I guess they do their jobs. It's just shut up. Like, shut up on stupid things like that. They just want so badly to be able to say, oh, California sucks yet again.
Well, and the thing is that the people coming here, because I get that on social media, go back to California. I'm not from California. But the people who are moving here from California are the people that are just sick of California because they're mostly right-leaning.
Right. The people who are coming, that's what I don't get about these people. I'm like, you could have a whole new crop of friends. Well, you probably do, because those Californians probably are like, oh, fuck yeah, I live there, I hate them. Like, so then that gives these people, the Arizona folks, a validation. I know people from California and they even hate it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I know people from California who, quite honestly, they would still live in California if it wasn't so expensive. That's why they chose to move. But it has nothing to do with California being out of control and whatnot.
But, why is California expensive? That goes back to corporations.
And another thing, too, one of my theories on why California is so expensive, too, is California is the state with the best weather. They've got good weather year-round.
Right.
It's not blasting ass hot. There's a few parts of it that are just as hot as Arizona, but very few and far between. Most of the state, you have really good weather. I'm like, they have to do something to keep people out. Fuck, that state could be separated into 4 states. You could make 4 states out of the state of California.
Well, yeah,
there's that much population.
And they say about, well, California has this homeless problem. That's because, well, if you were going to be homeless and you had to sleep outside, wouldn't you want to be in California?
Because of the great weather. And I've got news for them. Like, okay, when we're talking about California has this homeless problem. No, the whole United States has a homeless problem. Have these people not been driving around in even Kingman? There's homeless people here. Have you not gone down to Phoenix? There's homeless people there. Have you not gone to Nevada?
Las Vegas.
Have you not gone to Las Vegas and seen them? There's homeless people there. What are you talking about that there's only a homeless problem in California? My sister lives when she bought the house, this was a few years ago, so now the value has gone up even more because the values that have increased the most out of any state have been in Arizona, okay? Home prices. When she bought the house, it was a $600,000 house in a gated community. We were going to be going walking in the morning because we like to get up early to beat the heat. We were going for our walk, and she goes, just so you know, the park that we're going to, and this is right across from their beautiful gated community. She's like, there's a lot of homeless people that live there. Are you going to be like okay with that? Are you going to get like nervous or whatnot? I'm like, there's fucking homeless people everywhere. You can't pull up to a freeway on-ramp or off-ramp without seeing somebody there holding a sign. It's an America problem. It's because we give so much fucking leverage to the corporations. They don't give a fuck about the people. They're in business to make money, so they don't care. They're not offering these great jobs like they're fucking telling people. They sell people's jobs out to other countries. We don't fucking manufacture shit here.
And then they hire the illegal immigrants because it's cheap labor.
And the thing, that's what I wanted to say to those stupid idiots in the jury thing too. It's like, there are people here from other countries who are legally allowed to be here to work. They are on work visas because we have a serious problem in our country where Americans don't want to do certain jobs. It's beneath them. They don't want to pick vegetables. They don't want to do that. That work even our prison population, because they threw a huge fit about illegal immigration and whatnot and cut back on that. So there's a documentary about this farmer who had to have prison labor come in to try to help out with the crops. He was like, give me back my other workers. These guys won't do the work. Even prison labor didn't want to do it. They didn't want to pick vegetables.
Getting back to the court for a second, something that I went through last week after the long flight that you could hear about in the last episode. I had to go to a small claims hearing against my work. And it was in Las Vegas, which is Clark County. Now, the business transaction took place in Mojave County, which is where we are. But the court system is kind of fucked up because they allowed the hearing to continue in Clark County, even though they knew the business transaction took place in Mojave County. And I filed a motion to dismiss because I looked up the law. Because I didn't know. I'm like, can somebody from, Clark County sue somebody in Mojave County? Mm-hmm. And does it have to be heard in Mojave County? And the law states, no, you have to go to the county where the business transaction took place.
Right.
So I filed a motion to dismiss. They still made me go to court to hear the motion to dismiss. Now, the case got dismissed 5 seconds in. It was like, the judge was like, why are we here? This took place in Mojave County. And he wouldn't tell the guy where to go file. It's like, that's your job. I can't give, the judge is like, I can't give legal advice.
The court system is so fucked, they will tell you that.
Yeah.
But it's like, you would think that when they saw this guy's paperwork, they'd be like, this happened in Mojave County, you can't do this. But they don't fucking care. They're like, give me your court fee. Give me the money to file this.
Exactly.
You're not going to get it back.
And then,
dum-dum.
And then I had to file a couple motions like, okay, here's the paperwork that we signed off on, that the customer signed off on that.
Did you guys have to pay court fees?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and they don't care because they're like, well, we'll still collect their money because they're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
This is easy money
like,
for us.
Like the motion to dismiss, I sent in by certified mail, and they sent it back to me and said, no, you have to file through the website. So I filed, but I had the certified mail fee, got sent back to me. Well, no, now you have to file on our website, which is every piece of paperwork that you submit to them is $250 a page.
Uh-huh. Yeah. They're doing it because they're like, this is easy money for our courts. We're not going to tell this fucking moron. We'll tell him when he gets here to court. We'll make him waste his time. That not you, but the fucking idiot who wasn't smart enough to file through Mojave County. And let him go through the motions. What do we care? We're still making money off these court fees.
Which
it's nothing to us.
Which I will say, the guy was, he was probably in his mid-30s. He was in kind of good shape. He shows up for the hearing in a wheelchair.
He's hamming it up. He's like, I'm gonna get these guys.
Yeah, like
I'm gonna take them to the cleaner.
Like this, because of this business transaction, I can't walk anymore.
And then he's so stupid to not realize that, dude, this did not take place in Clark County. Like, no wonder they ripped him off. I mean, they're like, if this guy's so stupid that he thinks he can just go file wherever the fuck he feels like filing, like you can go file at home when it didn't happen in your hometown. Like, they're like, oh, fuck him.
Right. And even that guy said, well, then why? The guy was like, yeah, why are we here? Why did you allow this court case to continue if...
What they say, we can't give legal advice.
Yeah, something like that.
We can't tell you why we just ripped you off.
Did you had that happen when you had the tenant the tenant from hell?
God. Yeah, you would ask them. I asked her one thing, and it's like they're programmed to just say, right when they hear a question coming out of your mouth, you're not asking them a specific legal question, but it's like they will be like, they are just programmed to say, I'm sorry, I can't give out legal advice. And I was like, how is that you giving me legal advice?
Yeah, they
Please
said,
explain to me.
they said that to me when the certified letter came back and I called them and I'm like going, where do I go on the website to do this? Oh, I can't give legal advice. I'm just asking you where to go on the website.
They get annoyed if they have to do anything but sit there and tell people, sorry, I can't give you legal advice. If they have to do anything about that, I remember one time I was going in to fill out the paperwork in order to have the constable serve her, okay? Because the constable's offices are in the justice court too. So they're right there. So I was going to file it, and then you put it in their little box because they weren't actually in the office at the time. So I went up there to ask her. I go, oh my God. I go, I left my paperwork at home because I didn't think I would need to know my case number. You know, my stupid mistake. But I'm like, can you just give me my case number just so I don't have to run all the way home to get it? There was like an epic eye roll. And it was like, yeah, hold on here. And she read it off to me. And I'm like, thank you. It's just, if you even do that, you are putting them out. There was no one else in the courtroom at the time either. Like no one else at the window. I'm like, you literally, I'm sorry if I pulled you away from your Candy Crush. I mean, just to ask you a simple fucking question.
At least I had somebody cool.
It's a nightmare.
I had somebody cool at the front desk that, looked up the information for me, because after the flight from hell, I had 4 hours before the court case, and I had filed this motion to do it by phone. And they said, no, well, you didn't submit that in time. And I'm like, okay. But do you see the motion of dismissal? He goes, yeah. And he couldn't give legal advice and tell me it would be dismissed. I'm like, do I even have to be here? Because there's a 99.999% chance I know that this is going to dismissed. He goes, no, you still have to be there. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, because if you don't show up, usually if a person doesn't show up, they will automatically rule in the person's favor who actually showed up. So you don't want to take that chance.
No. So after, being up for 2 days straight, I had to go kill time on Fremont Street in 100-degree weather for 3 hours.
At least you could have gone like inside the casinos, though.
Yeah, no, I did. But at that point, I just wanted to be home.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. Well, hey, fucking guess nothing's more fucked up than the Supreme Court, so what do we expect from the lower courts?
I know. Yeah, if they're the ones setting the fucking bar.
That's a very low bar. All right, well, on that note, we will wrap this one up. And I don't know if we'll try to do another one this week or not. Then I go away. So we'll be doing these remotely for the next few weeks while I'm in the Midwest.
Okay.
All right. The phone.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's plenty of stuff to piss us off and talk about. And
You can tell us about life in the Midwest.
oh, I'm sure that'll be fucking great.
Yeah.
Well, it's not here, though. Right. Hey, I would say Minneapolis wasn't a bad city overall.
I've never been there yet.
Kind of liked it.
I haven't been to Minnesota yet.
And I think I caught it on the one nice day of the year because it was like 80 degrees.
Oh, cool.
So I think that only happens once or twice a year. So, all right.
All right.
On that note, we'll wrap this up and we will talk to you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.